Hello and welcome back to Talking Shakers. We've got an extended lineup today. My name's Neil Bonner. I'll be talking to Craig Nelson, who was covering Bury's victory over Yeovil on Saturday, and also our regular Bury correspondent, Nick Jackson. Craig, you were there on Saturday at Gig Lane for the victory over Yeovil, and Bury kept up their sequence of win, lose, win, lose, win. But it was overshadowed by a certain occurrence on the pitch, wasn't it?
It was, and I mean, before that, I thought Bury played some really, really attractive football, and I think with the three men that they had in midfield, Schumacher and Koch and Sweeney playing together for the first time, I thought they looked excellent. I thought they kept the ball well, they had plenty of time on the ball, they had obviously all technically gifted, and I thought it was looking absolutely brilliant. And feeding David Worrell and with Ryan Doble making his debut, I thought they were absolutely set up to win by a country mile, and it wasn't until the incident with the penalty that that they really went off the boil.
Tell us about what happened.
Well, I think basically after speaking to Stephen Schumacher, the captain, afterwards, I think he held his ground because he had told Giles Koch that he was taking the penalties before the match. And then for some reason, and he couldn't really explain it after the match, he took it upon himself to decide that he was going to take the penalty. And the captain, obviously, his say really goes on the pitch, and he should do. Yeah. He was quite right to hold his ground, but obviously it escalated. It meant they both got booked, and it could have ended up with them being sent off. It meant that the centre midfield couldn't make a tackle for the rest of the match. So it was a very silly thing to happen in all parts.
So just describe it then. Giles Koch was brought down for the penalty. He got the penalty. He picked up the ball to take the penalty, even though Schumacher told him before the game that Schumacher takes the penalty. Yeah. And then what was it? Was it pushing and pulling and tugging over the ball? Was it fisticuffs?
At first, I thought, from looking at it from a distance, I thought basically Schumacher must have been going over to him to actually tell him, maybe give him some advice about where to put the penalty. I did know that Giles Koch has in previous times taken penalties, so I was expecting that to happen. So when he tried to take the ball away for a moment, I think the whole ground was a bit confused as to what was happening. And it wasn't until all the Bury players actually stormed in that we realised that they were actually about ready to have fisticuffs. I mean, it did look like they threw the ball down in the end, and they were grabbing each other by the throat. And if it wasn't for Efisoji piling in, it may have ended up worse than what it actually did.
So you stepped in for Nick on this game. Nick was unavailable for this fixture, and it's not like this every week,
Well, the funny thing is that actually in previous times working in London, I actually did cover a club where Giles Koch started his career, and I was looking forward to catching up with him. He was a really nice young lad when I first knew him, and I was looking forward to it. So it's out of character, I think. Although I know that he does sometimes get into scrapes, but I think actually even himself, reading between the lines, he's probably quite appalled at his behaviour, and probably won't.
These flashpoints happen in football, don't we? Just ask Mario Balotelli. But Nick, do you think it could have any sort of lasting effect, or is it just over? Do you think?
I would imagine that Richie Barker, the manager, will be disappointed about it, because one of the things that's been so good about Bury, and one of the reasons why they've punched above the weight at this level this season is the team spirit. And of course, if you've got a good team spirit, that's the last thing you want to be happening. But you never know; it might have a galvanising effect. It might Giles Koch's head might get sorted out. He might have to be a bit sort of apologetic, shall we say? He will hopefully sit down and realise he's made a mistake. He'll be apologetic to his teammates, and it will galvanise, because he's a quality player when he's fit. He's a good player. So hopefully it may be something. I mean, we all know that things like this go on in football, don't we? It goes on in a lot of clubs. You don't hear about it, and when it manifests itself in front of a crowd, it's weird. But hopefully they'll kick on, because look at them, look at where they are in the table. Look, that's what you've got to think about.
I mean, that's what this overshadows in a way. Bury won the game, didn't they? Yeah. And you tell me played very good football.
If the penalties hadn't happened, I think they would have won the game by a lot more. Yeah. I think after that it was a bit more subdued. It was almost the players were a little bit in shock. I think Richie Barker said after the game that even though Giles Koch's quite a strong person, I think even he was a bit taken aback at what had happened, and probably was regretting it all the way through the match. So it's a shame, really. But yeah, I mean, if the three of them can play together again in the centre of midfield, then you've got the makings of a very good midfield partnership.
Well, we'll see on Saturday. Nick, you're back selected again.
Yeah, I'm back this week.
Coming
off the bench.
Rochdale away. I mean, there were 2,300 Bury fans there on Saturday, which I suppose doesn't surprise me. However, there could be that many Bury fans at Rochdale.
Well, they do take about half the fans away. We know this. We've talked about it before, and you know, it's a good game to get back in it, but you know, get back at it.
Yeah.
And you know, a good local derby.
By my reckoning,
6 miles away.
They seem to win, lose now. So by my reckoning, they're going to lose if they keep that sequence up. So let's hope that's broken this weekend.
Well, it'll be very interesting to see how they perform at Rochdale, because they'll be up for it. They'll want to hopefully put that incident we've just been talking about behind them and get up the table, because they are not far off the playoffs. I know they've been going on about they want 50 points, you know, make sure they don't go down. Well, everybody's looking up now.
Well, a colleague of ours upstairs saying he's been hearing you know, other journalists outside of that area talking about the word playoffs. That word hasn't been said at Bury football.
Well, it has, but not by Richie Barker. They're trying to play it down. But you know, you've only got to look at the table, and you don't have to be a genius to figure out they're only 5 points off the playoffs.
It's nice when he's said.
And if they win a couple of games, you know, 3 points for a win, it could be quite exciting towards the end of the season.
Good. Well, let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Thanks, lads.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Cheers. Well, thanks for that, lads. And please join us again next week for our latest instalment of Talking Shakers, when we'll find out how Bury went on in the big derby at Rochdale.